Hello and welcome to Save the World podcast, where we are saving one family at a time. This is your girl, Anethea Powell, also known as AP, and we have
Kendra Calhoun, that's also known as KC.
all right, and we're here to talk to you all today about living benefits. We want to pick up where we left off from the last podcast where we were talking about living benefits, but this time we want to show you how important that living benefit piece of your financial portfolio, how very valuable that can be to your finances. So Kendra has something that she's going to share with us, and we want you to take a quick look into what is, how this living benefit can actually benefit you and your family, just like it did with this couple. So, Kendra, take it away.
Yes. I want to share David's story. So we have so many different stories, but I would love to share David's story. Let me know if you see my screen, Anethea.
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to share David's story. Let me go ahead and begin.
I'm 48 years old. I've been married to my wife for 15 years. We have 5 beautiful children. We love the outdoors. We like to go out and hike and fish and camp and hunt. We also are into health. We like to try to take care of ourselves as best we can. So we take our health very seriously. Now, I was getting up into my late 40s and I was beginning to think it's time to consider having some kind of coverage for my family. I had my first contact with Bob Derby, and Bob was very helpful, very comforting.
I got to know Dave. He's an incredible individual. The Living Benefits policy is a life insurance product with living benefits. If someone gets a terminal illness where they have less than a year to live, or a critical illness like a heart attack, cancer, stroke, or if they cannot do 2 of the 6 activities of daily living like bathing, dressing, feeding themselves, then they can access money out of the policy while they're still alive. It's life insurance they don't have to die to use.
Well, my wife and I were in the gym working out at our house, and I got a sharp pain in my left side of my chest, and I thought I had just pulled a muscle. The next thing that occurred, I started to get the pain down the left arm, and I started to sweat. And I knew right away that this was an issue. When we got to the hospital, they verified I was having the heart attack. And the sad thing was they did not have a staffed cath lab at the hospital that I was at, so I had to be life flighted. It took about another 40 minutes to an hour to get me from that one hospital to the other hospital. I had an hour, or maybe you could say an hour and 20 minutes, where I had basically the left side of my heart shut down. And so I got to the hospital. They were waiting for me in the operating room. They got me in there. Just amazing how fast they got in and put a stent in my left anterior descending artery. When we had started the policy versus the time when I actually had the heart attack was only 3 months. About 2 weeks after that, I had more chest pains. And this meant another incident where we had to get tested. I had to be life flighted out a second time. You think about laying there in ICU wondering, are you going to make it out of there? And is your family going to be taken care of? We found out as the bills began to roll in that it was well over $150,000 worth of bills. There was a lot of concern about that, but I was also very comforted knowing that I had the living benefits. And if I needed to pull on those benefits, I could.
I don't hand those kind of checks out every day, you might imagine. And I told him when I handed it to him, I said, you're the first living person I've ever handed a life insurance check to. If he were to pass away today, he'd still have right around $500,000 that his loved ones would get.
What I liked the best about the life insurance policy with the living benefits is the fact that if you needed to use a portion of the policy, you had the ability to use it. It's very flexible.
I would tell people to purchase this policy because they don't know what's going to happen in the future. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows if an illness or a sickness or an accident that could leave them paralyzed is going to happen.
No matter how old you are, whether you're in your 20s or your 30s or you're like me in your 40s, it's pretty important to have good coverage. It's good to have a life insurance policy that you can feel good about and know that you got coverage if there's anything that ever happens to you. You always expect the best, but you got to be prepared for the worst. We should all have that attitude.
Awesome. Awesome. Wasn't that some great information, Anithya?
Absolutely.
Living benefits that take care of you if you have a critical, chronic, terminal illness. Oh
Yeah.
man, just think of how many people that have situations like that happen to them and they don't have this type of coverage because they don't die, right?
Right.
So they don't die.
Yeah.
So let's talk about living benefits, Anithya.
Yes.
You have any other information you'd like to share?
Yeah, we're going to stop sharing this one. And I absolutely, with looking at that video, first of all, that family, I mean, beautiful family. He's in his 40s, working out, healthy, looking like he's healthy among all counts. You can, be working out and actually have a heart attack. But what really struck me about what we just saw, Kendra, is the fact that the company was able to pay out $289,000 to him while he is still alive, for him to be able to continue to pay the mortgage, to continue to make sure he have the groceries coming in and everything that his family needs, instead of him having to pull from his own personal savings. That's how we, help these families out here. And like that particular agent said, he still had like $500,000 in his policy that he could, that he still have access to, right?
Right. And that's even if he were to pass away,
Yeah.
and if he had another critical, chronic, or terminal illness, he's still set. His family are still secure. It's speechless. It's so exciting.
And I'm going
to have something like that.
I want to share another story with you, with the audience, Kendra. And this one is the story of Scott, right? This is the story of Scott. Look at him. He's young and healthy, he's working out, things of that nature. But guess what happened to him? He had a heart attack. He had a heart attack as well, right? And everybody who have heart attacks, they don't die. I think the last podcast we talked about was talking about Tito Jackson, who died at the age of 70 from a heart attack.
Exactly.
And, and our condolences went out. But, this man, Scott is about 35 years old, and he had a heart attack. And look at the check that a company sent to his.
So if you don't die, you can still benefit while you're living. That's awesome. And how much is that check? Am I saying that right? It's
$353,519.20 to be exact. Okay.
Wow.
And would that help someone? This is not like
yes.
This is not like a little supplement, a supplement that goes along with whatever, right? These are thousands upon thousands of dollars, right? So when it's all said and done, the critical illness, chronic and terminal. Well, what if you have a heart attack, a stroke, or you're diagnosed with cancer, or renal or kidney failure, right? Major organ transplant, blindness from diabetes, paralysis, etc. Then you can access, in many instances, up to 90% with some companies, up to 90% of that death benefit while you're living.
Wow.
And
all I have to say is wow, wow, wow.
Right. And some companies, Kendra, the same thing with chronic. It's 90% across the board, and others may be 24%. So depending on which company, right? And this is why it's so important that we sit down with families, find out what it is that we can do to help put things in place for them and their family, because every family history is different. Every family's need is different. But the bottom line is, what do you have in place that gives you access to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars while you're alive, in case you get a critical, a chronic, or terminal illness? Most people would answer to that, They don't have
It's
any.
either no or I don't know.
Exactly.
So that's what we're asking our audience. What do you have in place? And
Right.
if you have nothing in place, you definitely need to reach out to us. You know, free
Absolutely.
quotes, we can sit down with you depending on your needs for you and your family. We can provide this information for you. This is something that is needed. And I know maybe some of the audience don't know, when we first started off, I talked about my own experience. So on a Thursday, I was introduced to these types of products. On a Monday, I woke up with a headache that changed my life. I was taken to the emergency room.
Mhm.
And long story short, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. They told me I had less than 5 years to live.
Wow.
And at the time, my policy was going through underwriting. And of course, a lot of people don't realize when you're in a hospital, everything they do, even if they're giving you an aspirin, is uploaded into the medical bureau. So
Right.
while my policy was going through underwriting, they started seeing all the things that were happening to me in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 30 days.
Wow.
30 days, neurologists, all kind of special doctors that was working with me on my case. It was crazy. So in that process, when I was going through underwriting, I was declined.
Wow.
Because they saw that I was in the hospital. They saw the medication, the radiation, everything that they were doing to me in those 30 days.
So as you were going through the treatment in the hospital, the underwriters was getting it almost as fast as they were treating you, and they started asking, what is neurologist? What is this medication for? What's going on? Right. So
because the hospital have to update the system, the medical system.
Wow.
So everything that they were doing, from x-rays to MRIs with and without contrast, all of that was being uploaded in my medical bureau, my files. So when you're going through underwriting, they're constantly looking into your files. And so they started seeing all that, and they completely shut me down. And that was $1 million policy in India. So just think, if I had got approved for that and I had a critical, chronic, or terminal illness, right? That would have been almost $900,000 that I could have access to aid me through what I was going through. Absolutely. And you see how important that is? But I was declined, and then I almost went bankrupt from all the medical bills. I had over $400,000 in medical bills.
Wow. Wow. That definitely would have helped. That definitely would have helped tremendously.
So living benefits is very powerful. And as we go through our podcast, we're going to touch a lot on my story and other stories. And we're going to even have other people come and tell their stories. Because guys, you need to know this information. You can't wait to put plan B in place when you need plan B, right? You got to have all this stuff in place and hope that you never have to use it. But just think, if just like Dave's story or Scott's story, when they needed it, it was there for them. Right. And that makes a big difference when you're trying to heal. Because as I was going through mine, I was hitting debt. I almost lost my house. Almost went into foreclosure because I had no money coming in, right? I went through all of my savings like that quick. The blink of an eye, when someone said you lose everything in a blink of an eye, that was me. But if I had had that living benefit in place early enough before I got sick, you know, when someone sat down with me and showed me that, it clicked, and I knew I had to have it. And I placed it on myself and my boys. Right. You know, so what we do is powerful.
It's very powerful. And you know,
that living benefit is powerful.
The living benefit is not something that you can get when you need it. You have to have it before you need it. Hindsight is 20/20. So, you know, I've been in front of people and they chose not to get anything in place. And then when something happened, then they called, and then it's too late. Right?
Exactly.
So you have to have this in place for your financial future, just in case. What if? For the what ifs, right? So
For
this
the what ifs.
so this is how we're going to help save. If there's one family out there that's listening to this, and if we can help that one family, then guess what? Our work is not in vain. You know, because
Amen.
we see this
Amen.
time after time, where people are not putting things in place that they could have had in place and they didn't. So again, Kendra Calhoun, Anithia Powell, we're here to help save the world
One family at a time.
time. Thank you.
And don't forget to hit the link and also leave comments in the website.
Yes.
Check out our website. Check it
Yes.
out.
Yes. Check out the website at savetheworld.global. Savetheworld.global. And just take a look around in there and reach out to us. We're here to answer any questions that you may have. So definitely you want to click the link, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching
Thank you.
the World Podcast. Until next time, have a great day.
Have a great day.